Hello everyone, you have come to Tata Comic Preview channel. Let read together. Have fun. Yi Zhang smiled genially. He waved his hand again and said, "Are you testing me, Elder Meng? I wouldn't dare. I'm genuinely asking for enlightenment. Everyone in the Flying Star House knows that you're an elite, Elder Yi. You killed the Luan with your expansive heavenly energy and script seals." Yi Zhang said, "Killing the Luan is the joint effort of everyone in the Flying Star House." Meng Changdong nodded. Yi Zhen lowered the teacup in his hand and asked, "Who do you think is powerful enough to kill Jiang Wenxiu? He was capable of building a personal fiefdom in the Golden Lotus domain and maintained it for 3 centuries. Do you think he didn't have ways to defend himself? This crystal must contain a secret about the person who killed him. This person will also become one of the Red Lotus domain's greatest enemies." Indeed, but why would this person seal his memories inside a crystal? Meng Changdong wondered out loud. Everyone has a weakness. One would be more inclined to seal away something that they don't want to face. If the expert from the Golden Lotus domain's weakness was contained in the crystal, their priority should be to decipher it. Meng Changdong's expression remained neutral, he merely nodded in agreement. Yi Zhen looked at him and said, "Elder Meng, do you have any other questions? The people sent by the Sky Martial Court have all been killed. The plan of invading with the Sky Chariots will have to be put aside for now. Fa Kong of the Blood Sun Temple, who mastered the karmic fire, is also dead. The Golden Lotus domain isn't as weak as we imagined it to be," Meng Changdong said. Yi Zhen said nothing. Instead, he waved his hand again. The teapot poured another cup of tea. After the cup was filled, Yi Zhen said, "The Sky Martial Court will keep an eye on the Golden Lotus domain. There's no need to trouble yourself over it, Elder Meng. You should focus your efforts on deciphering the crystal's secrets." Meng Changdong was shocked when he heard these words. He no longer dared to continue this topic. Ever since he voiced his extremely conservative opinions, the Flying Star House's master ordered him to stay out of it. The Flying Star House's master was in secluded cultivation most of the time. Therefore, Yi Zhen held the highest authority. Although Meng Changdong was an elder, his status was incomparable to Yi Zhen. Moreover, he was much weaker as well. He thought about it for a moment before he brought a piece of paper out from his sleeve and placed it on the table. "Elder Yi, kindly take a look at this." Yi Zhen picked it up and read it. There were random symbols scribbled all over the place. He did not recognize any of them. He read extensively, so he was knowledgeable about matters from the stars in the sky to the ground. However, he frowned when he saw these symbols. "I've analyzed the obstacles within memory crystals in the world for several months and couldn't decipher it. I couldn't understand what these symbols mean at all. Like I said, I've tried everything, but I couldn't unlock it," Meng Changdong said. Yi Zhen stared at the symbols, falling deep into thoughts for a long time. If he could not decipher the key to unlocking the crystal, nobody in the Flying Star House had any hope of doing so. After what seemed like hours, he still could not make heads or tails out of the symbols on the paper. Meng Changdong said, "Since this is only half of the crystal, the symbols we have are only half the entire thing as well." Yi Zhen put the paper down and said in a slightly disappointed tone, "If Luo Xian was still around, she might be able to decipher the secret of this crystal. The person who sealed the crystal must have used a method that only he knows. We have no choice but to find him." Meng Changdong nodded and said, "Alas, Luo Xian was exiled from the Sky Martial Court long ago. I think she lost her life in the endless ocean." Yi Zhang sighed. There's only a thin line between a lunatic and a genius. Alas, the Sky Martial Court couldn't see her potential. Enough about her. How are things with the Thousand Willow Monastery? Lu Song and Taoist Master Xianming have died. Initially, I planned to go to the Thousand Willow Monastery to demand an explanation, but... But what? Yi Zhen asked. There seem to be Golden Lotus cultivators in the Thousand Willow Monastery. To protect themselves, the Thousand Willow Monastery and the Golden Lotus cultivators have aligned themselves with the Ninth Temple, Meng Changdong said. Then, he looked around before he lowered his voice and said, I've also obtained secret information. This is my place. You don't have to worry about being overheard. Say what you must, Yizhen said as he straightened his back. The great general of the north, Chen Beizheng, is dead, Mang Changdong said. Upon hearing these words, the ever-calm Yizhen, who was raising the teacup to his mouth, froze. His right hand shook slightly, causing the tea to spill. However, as soon as the droplets of tea fell, a surge of primal chi swept out, bringing the droplets of tea back into the teacup. Is the information accurate? It's accurate. The palace tried to keep a lid on this, but they pushed the matter to the Sky Marshal Court. We're on good terms with the Sky Marshal Court, so they told me about it, Mang Changdong said. Yizhen was puzzled. After he calmed down, he said, Is Sikong Beichun so bold now as to stand against the palace? With Sikong Beichun's abilities, it won't be easy for him to kill Chen Beizheng. However, it happened in the 9th temple. It's not entirely impossible for the 9th temple to kill Chen Beizheng in their territory. I'll report this matter to the house master. All right. After saying this, Mang Changdong rose to his feet and cupped his fists at Yizhen. I'll continue to study the crystal. Farewell. See our guest out. A Confucian scholar came over and led Mang Changdong toward the other peak. 7 days later, in the Golden Lotus domain. In front of the Evil Sky Pavilion's great hall. Wuya was pacing back and forth. The Yun sect's Nan Gongwei has successfully reached the 9-leaf stage. The 3 sects managed to kill the beasts while the huge beast fled after sustaining heavy injuries. There's an unknown 8-leaf cultivator in Yi province who has successfully reached the 9-leaf stage as well. Alas, nobody was looking out for him, so he was grievously wounded by the beasts and is still missing. In the Divine Capital, the Big Dipper Academy's president, Zhou, failed to reach the 9-leaf stage. Apart from that, 5th senior sister has commanded the cultivators to chase beasts away. The Nether Sect's Azure Dragon Hall's second seat, Yu Hong, tried to reach the 9-leaf stage on his own after reaching the 8-leaf stage. He lost 300 years of life. Bai Yuqing has issued a strict ban on unsupervised attempts of reaching the 9-leaf stage. The 10,000 Poison Sect's Lu Liang failed in his attempt to reach the 9-leaf stage. The Blossom Faction's Madame Zhang failed in her attempt to reach the 9-leaf stage. After reading the reports, Ming Shirin spread his hands and asked, The other cultivators who attempted the 9-leaf stage did not notify us beforehand. From what our men saw, they're not in good condition. 7th junior brother, I don't think they can manage without me. Should I go and support them? Wuya said, So long as the formation remains intact, the beasts are not much of a threat. 5th senior sister has the Empress Dowager's support, so there's not much of a problem at the Divine Capital. All they have to do is to defend it properly. Those who failed have no one to blame but themselves. 4th senior brother, you shouldn't leave this place if it's not necessary. Life is boring. I'm a 9-leaf cultivator, but there's no chance for me to put my strength to use. 7th junior brother, stop drawing diagrams at night. Why don't you spar with me? Ming Shirin said. As soon as Ming Shirin finished speaking, a pleading voice rang from outside. Mr. Fourth, please. Please help. Zhu Tianyun appeared, panting. Help? What is it? I'll deal with it in just a blink of an eye. Ming Shirin patted his chest before he extended his hand. The separation hook appeared in his hand. Zhu Tianyuan said, Please, spar, train with Mr. Third. Whoosh. A gust of wind blew in the great hall. Zhu Tianyun looked around, baffled. Eh? Where did Mr. Fourth go? Wuya was speechless. He thought that Ming Shirin was being childish. He returned to his room with his hands on his back and continued poring over the diagrams. Meanwhile, in the Red Lotus domain, the sun was setting. Finally, Lu Zhou's extraordinary power was fully replenished. Apart from meditating on the heavenly writing scrolls, Lu Zhou would do breathing exercises as well to improve his cultivation base. He had to prepare for the 10-leaf stage. Perhaps, it was due to the richer primal chi in the Red Lotus domain, his cultivation base was improving faster compared to when he was in the Golden Lotus domain. At this moment, a voice rang from the other side of the door. Xia Chengqiu requests an audience. What is it? The Ninth Temple has sent a flying letter. 3 days from now, the Flying Star House's master is going to visit the Ninth Temple. Temple Master Xikong wishes to invite you over as well. If it was any other matter, Zhou could have ordered Yu Zhenghai and Yu Shangrong to take care of it. Now that they were both 9-leaf cultivators, even in the Red Lotus domain, they were considered outstanding cultivators. However, they seemed to lack the ability to stand on the same stage as Xikong Beichen. Moreover, the strength of the Flying Star House's master was still unknown. Yi Zhen's cultivation base should be similar to Fa Kong. If it were a one-on-one battle, Zhou was confident enough to take on the Flying Star House. The problem was, they might not agree to a one-on-one fight. At moments like this, the disadvantage of the Deadly Strike card was particularly glaring. The extraordinary power from the heavenly writing scrolls granted him enough power to defeat his peers. However, he did not think it would be easy to defeat a 10-leaf cultivator. This was not a small-scale battle. The difference of 1 leaf could hardly be made up for with other methods. He had to consider possible outcomes after his extraordinary power was depleted. How many 9-leaf or 10-leaf cultivators are there in the Red Lotus domain? The most important factor was the Ninth Temple's stance. The hearts of men were difficult to predict. The Evil Sky Pavilion had experienced several sieges. It was not entirely impossible for such a scenario to happen in the Red Lotus domain. Xikong Beichen sure knows how to put on airs, Zhou said tonelessly. Xia Chengqiu was slightly puzzled. However, it did not take long for realization to dawn on him. He hastily said, "You're right, Senior Liu. They should come here to meet you instead." Hierarchy mattered, after all. There was no reason for a high-ranking person to go out of his way to meet a low-ranking person. Xikong Beichen was used to being in his high office and being revered by others that he had forgotten this minor detail. Zhou suddenly remembered something. He stood up and walked out the door. He saw Xia Chengqiu standing respectfully in the courtyard and asked, "What's the Flying Star House's strength like? If they're weak, I can use this opportunity to defeat them and retrieve the memory crystal. Relying on my 9-leaf cultivation base might not be enough, so I'll have to accumulate more merit points. If I use item cards alone, it'd be nothing but a loss." Xia Chengqiu replied, "Currently, Yi Zhen and the housemaster, Chen Tiandu, are the strongest cultivators. At least on paper. Chen Tiandu seldom troubles himself with the affairs of the Flying Star House. Usually, a 10-leaf cultivator wouldn't simply make a move if it's not necessary. Unfortunately, it seemed like ordinary situations were a rarity. In that case, the Flying Star House's overall strength isn't comparable to the Ninth Temple. What gives them the confidence to visit the Ninth Temple?" Zhou was puzzled. Temple Master Xikong is old, and his body isn't what it once was. Many things are handled by the 9 first seats. Then, 4 of them passed away. The Ninth Temple's strength is just a shadow of its former self. On the surface, it seems as though the Ninth Temple is stronger, but in truth, the Ninth Temple won't be able to gain the upper hand against the Flying Star House. Yi Zhen is deemed as a rare talent in the Red Lotus domain. He reached the 9-leaf stage in less than 800 years and mastered the karmic fire. He's also said to be the cultivator who would most probably become a 10-leaf cultivator. Moreover, he reads extensively and is very knowledgeable. He's even capable of governing the new world, Xia Chengqiu said. Zhou could accept the first half of the words, but he was troubled by the second half. Before he returned to his room, he said, "I see. Send a reply to Xikong Beichen. Tell him that I don't have time for this. That will be all." Xia Chengqiu bowed and retreated. In the Flying Star House on lofty steep mountain. Yi Zhen stood outside the Flying Star House and looked down at the mountains and rivers as the sun hung high in the sky. Meng Changdong, who was standing next to Yi Zhen, asked, "The housemaster is planning to visit the Ninth Temple. Is that your idea, Elder Yi Zhen?" Yi Zhen did not look at Meng Changdong. His expression remained neutral as he asked in return, "Do you have a problem with that?" Meng Changdong said, "I have no objections to visiting the ninth temple, but isn't it slightly inhumane to annihilate the Thousand Willow Monastery?" Yi Zhen said calmly, "The annihilation is approved by the Sky Martial Court. If we don't annihilate the Thousand Willow Monastery, the reputation that the Flying Star House has built over the years would be destroyed overnight. If we don't wipe them out, Lu Song, Xian Ming, Liang Zidao, and the other disciples would have died in vain. How are we going to recruit disciples in the future then? Are you going to lead the men there, Elder Yi?" Meng Changdong wondered out loud. Yi Zhen shook his head and said, "I'll head to the ninth temple with the house master. Rumor has it that they are Golden Lotus experts hiding in the Thousand Willow Monastery. Now, they're also colluding with the ninth temple. How are we supposed to annihilate them if you or the housemaster don't lead our members there? You'll lead the mission." Meng Changdong was shocked. "You're not willing?" Yi Zhen turned and stared at Meng Changdong with a judgmental gaze. "Since I'm an elder of the Flying Star House, I'll lead the mission. Don't worry, Elder Yi." "Good." Yi Zhen looked ahead again. He said indifferently, "The housemaster and I will hold the ninth temple back. You can rest easy about that matter. Also, the Sky Martial Court has formed an alliance with the 12 sects of Cloud Mountain. They'll send 1,000 cultivators in the Divine Court realm and above. Moreover, the elite of the 12 sects of Cloud Mountain, Xia Xian, will lend you a helping hand as well." "Thank you, Elder Yi." Despite his words, a hint of worry could be seen on his face. What good would Divine Court realm cultivators be? Xia Xian sounds more like it. Yi Zhen turned around slowly. He walked toward the dojo and said, "Elder Meng, don't forget. 3 days. I'll go and make preparations at once." Meng Changdong left. After Meng Changdong left, a Confucian scholar entered Yi Zhen's dojo. He bowed and said, "Should I continue keeping an eye on him?" Yi Zhen smiled faintly. "There's no need. You know Meng Changdong has always been passive. Why is he leading the mission to annihilate the Thousand Willow Monastery? There's only 2 outcomes to this mission, success or failure. If it's a success, it'll benefit the Flying Star House. If it's a failure, the housemaster definitely won't forgive him." "That's brilliant, Elder Yi." Yi Zhen pointed at the paper before him and said, "Send this paper to the Sky Martial Court. Have them study it as well." "Understood." The Confucian scholar bowed. Then, he raised his head and said, "The Sky Martial Court's Sky Chariot research is a success. They can now cross the endless ocean, and the duration of the journey has been reduced to half. Should we send our men over? The Golden Lotus domain has already invaded the Red Lotus domain. There's no need to meddle in the matters of the Golden Lotus domain," Yi Zhen said. "All right. I'll take care of it right away." The Confucian scholar picked the paper up and looked at the random symbols. He could not understand it. After he shoved it in his pocket, he left. 3 days later, during the day, a small flying chariot pulled by red flying beasts left lofty steep mountain before disappearing among the clouds. Meanwhile, on another peak that was much shorter than lofty steep mountain, Meng Changdong and 1,000 cultivators left and flew toward the Thousand Willow Mountain. Half a day later, in the ninth temple. "Grand Elder, the Flying Star House's Yi Zhen is here," a disciple said with a bow. Zhu Xian frowned slightly and said, "Yi Zhen? What's he doing here? The ninth temple and the Flying Star House have never seen eye to eye. Just tell him that the 5 first seats are in secluded cultivation and we'll meet him some other day." "But the Flying Star House's master seems to be here as well." "Chen Tiandu?" Zhu Xian was shocked. "Notify the 5 first seats. Quick." "Understood." The disciple had just stepped out of the room when a gruff voice rang from the distant horizon. "Flying Star House's Yi Zhen requests an audience with Senior Sikong." The voice was resounding and deep. The powerful sound technique spread across the mountains and forests. The mystery hall's Zhang Shaoqing did not go out because he was grounded. In the peace hall, Yao Qingchuan heard it most clearly. The other areas were covered by powerful formation veins. Yao Qingchuan opened his eyes and flew out of the hall. He rose into the air and looked ahead. He saw red birds and a flying chariot. Although the red birds were not huge, he knew only the Flying Star House's master had a chariot that was pulled by red birds. He frowned. The chariot of the Flying Star House's Chen Tiandu? There were still ways to deal with Chen Beijing since officials would play by the rules. However, the Flying Star House did not have many rules. This was especially true when they annihilated many smaller sects over the years. After killing the Luan in the Blackwater Mystic Cave, their popularity rose as well. Yao Qingchuan found this strange. There are only a handful of 10-leaf cultivators under the heavens. They usually stay out of worldly affairs. What's he doing here? The people who had reached the 10-leaf stage in the Red Lotus domain were old. At this moment, the other 3 first seats flew over. The Flying Star House's Yi Zhen requests an audience with Senior Sikong. The voice rang again. This time, it was more penetrative. The Truce Hall's Zhao Jianghe said irritably, Yi Zhen is truly here to show off his strength. How dare he? Let's ignore him for now. Why isn't old Senior Lu here yet? Challenging another party with sound technique was disrespectful, after all. A female attendant sent Senior Lu's flying letter straight to the Holy Palace. I wonder what it said. I sure hope Senior Lu comes here sooner so the Flying Star House won't be able to stay arrogant. The 4 of them exchanged a look and nodded.